Well, we're fighting for every vote. We've got whatever it is. Did we go this way?
What would you like to see change or improve in Hartlepool?
Everything.
I mean, for me, I'm the only left-wing, I'm the only socialist candidate that's in the running.
Oh yeah. We are in the Joe offices right now, but soon we will be in Hartlepool to report on the upcoming by-election. We're going to speak to some local people, interview one of the candidates, even try some of the local delicacies, and if we're lucky and the weather's decent, maybe go for a swim. Yeah? So we're on the train to Hartlepool, just come out of York. It is a beautiful sunny day and the North English countryside is looking fantastic. As a constituency, this seat has never, ever, ever been held by the Conservatives. So if they were to win it now, it would be totally unprecedented. Add on top of that the fact it's basically unheard of for, in a by-election, for the government to flip an opposition seat, take it from the opposition and move it over to the government. You know, if that were to happen, it would be extraordinary. So basically this seat, it's Labour's to lose. And you know, in the 2019 general election, when we saw all of these red wall seats falling to the Tories, Hartlepool didn't. It got a big Brexit Party vote, about 25%. But the incumbent Mike Hill, who's since resigned after facing allegations of sexual harassment, his majority was about 3,500 votes. So the question really at this by-election is how those Brexit Party votes are split up. Do they all go back to Labour? I highly doubt it. Are people who've now voted for a party other than the Labour Party going to feel more confident? They might even feel happy to now lend their vote to the Tories. That's a possibility. It's the question of how it splits off that's really going to decide this election and potentially, you know, the future of sort of Labour's electoral success in the rest of England. So that's what we're looking out for. The other thing to say, you know, in relation to that is, you know, the Labour Party parachuted this candidate in, their candidate, Dr. Paul Williams, you know, who's an NHS doctor and works in a hospital there. Committed Remainer, advocate for a second referendum. Hartlepool, I think it had the highest percentage of Leave voters in the country. 70% of people in Hartlepool voted to leave. They voted for Brexit. And if you're the Labour Party and, you know, they parachuted him in, when I say they parachuted him in, you know, the short list of candidates that the local Labour Party in Hartlepool could choose to represent them at this by-election was one, this guy, Paul Williams. And so, you know, High Commanders basically said, here's this candidate, this is who we're putting up. And this guy, it's almost like they're effectively giving the finger to, you know, the very, very pro-Brexit population in Hartlepool. So the seat is Labour's to lose, but it's by no means, you know, a dead cert that they're going to keep hold of it. And if they did, my God, absolutely damning on Keir Starmer's leadership. So we're heading up there to find out. Do you notice anything different about me, Ed? Well, I have had a haircut actually, yes, but that's not what I was talking about. I'm wearing a different jumper to the one I did in our last video. First of all, it's a fleece, and yes, it's a tasteful mustard. And second of all, someone actually tweeted me to tell me how horrible that jumper is. So I've changed.
After making landfall in the northeast, we dropped our stuff at the hotel and hit the streets to speak to the poolies. And, it would turn out, the leader of the Labour Party.
What's important to you about that?
Well, I just like Hartlepool full stop, to be honest.
What would you like to see change or improve in Hartlepool?
Everything.
More jobs.
The hospital needs putting back the way it was, like a hospital.
an effective place where people can feel they are looked after, in emergencies especially, because we don't have an emergency room there. The police station doesn't have a place to detain people. They all have to go to Middlesbrough from this town, which concerns a lot of people. That would affect how the place is policed, surely. And the other thing is that we don't have a court anymore in the civic centre. So the place needs those three things, I think, looking at urgently.
We just want to see a little bit of investment in the area. I think there's some good things going on. I mean, with the new Freeport and what have you, I think that's a good start. But I think we're still a long way behind sort of the south, if you like, places like London. I mean, I work in engineering and I've never had a job here in my life, and I'm 46.
I don't know anyone that would vote a Tory, but anything's possible these days. There'd be a lot of people turning in their graves, I would imagine.
Just thought Boris sort of comes good on his promises, really, that they're going to level things up, whether we get a Conservative MP or not.
Obviously, there was a big Brexit Party vote in 2019. A lot of people voted for the Brexit Party. About 25% of people actually.
I did though.
You did? Oh, okay. And now you're going to go back to Labour?
Yeah, but I'm going to vote Labour this time.
I mean, the only down thing with the candidate for the Conservatives is I wish they'd picked somebody local.
Mortimer, she's a farmer.
Yeah. I mean, she's from Thirsk. I think if they'd have picked somebody from Hartlepool, I think they would have. Yeah, I think they would have been in a bigger shout. I mean, I think the bookies have got them favourites.
Yeah.
It's very close. But I think it's on the day. I think it's all about turnout. I think there'll be a few who go to the Conservatives, but I think Labour might lose a few to alternatives as well. Yeah, like because I think they have a real issue. I don't think people around here have took to Keir Starmer the way that they might have done with Jeremy Corbyn.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
Because I think his policies were more socialist, and I think this area, like when it's been Labour, has always been quite socialist territory. Even the harbour view's alright for fish and chips if you just fancy a chippy tea.
David's dinner recommendation turned out to be fit for a night of the realm, and leader of the opposition, Keir Starmer, turned up an hour or so later. So we tried to have a chat with him.
Well, we're fighting for every vote. We've got whatever it is. Did we go this way? 2 weeks to polling day. The poll that counts, 2 weeks and 2 hours today, and that's why we're here in Hartlepool fighting for the votes.
Sadiq Khan is considering cannabis in London. Do you think the same should be happening nationally?
What was he saying? I didn't hear that.
Sadiq Khan's looking at legalising cannabis in London.
I think he's reviewing it. Yes. At the moment,
I
think the priority here at Hartlepool is jobs, is a pay rise for the NHS.
Dissatisfied with the quality of answer provided, we opted to wait for Keir to finish his dinner and try again. But not without exchanging cagey looks over battered fish first.
Keir Starmer reports today that a fourth police officer allegedly fathered a child with a woman while he was serving as an undercover police officer. Do you regret abstaining on this boycotts bill?
I haven't seen that report, and the bill you're talking about had nothing to do with that case, as I'm sure you probably know.
That case, sir, it permitted individuals to commit crimes in the name of law enforcement. The Labour Party abstained on it. There we go. Cheers, lads. So there's an interesting subplot to this story, which is that actually when we were planning to come to Hartlepool, we tried to book in to the premiere in here, and by the time I went to put in my card payment details, it had sold out. So it turns out, I think that Keir Starmer actually took our hotel room, so we're here now waiting for him, and we're going to resume our line of questioning when he gets here.
Keir didn't turn up, although we did later establish that we were in the right place. The next morning, me and Ed regrouped to debrief and plan the next day.
Morning, Oli.
Good morning, Ed. Thank you for my coffee. It's very kind of you.
You're welcome. I want you to have a good St George's Day.
Oh, yeah. Start every St George's Day off right. Happy St George's Day.
Happy St George's Day.
To you too. We've made a rookie error today, mate.
What's that?
We've returned to the scene of the crime. We doorstepped Keir Starmer here yesterday. I mean, first of all, thoughts and feels on Mr. Starmer and his responses to our question.
What responses is my main?
Oh, very good. Very good.
Is my main point to that. I think we gave him questions to which there was clear answers, and to which he could have come out definitively and answered them, but he didn't. He just avoided the questions.
The third question about, the covert human intelligence security bill, which I, put to him, we saw a very different side to him, didn't we?
He just came out. I don't know. I wasn't sure you were going to survive the next.
Yeah, when he stopped,
next minute.
When he stopped and looked me in the eyes, it was very. It took me aback a little bit. Probably because I've never really seen that side to him.
No, absolutely. Maybe something that we should he should try and show more of. I don't know. I think if he showed a bit more fight, it's something literally. He did that for the audience of you and I. And it changed our opinion on him.
Yeah, that's true.
Like
that's
we're
true.
like,
Yeah,
oh, he's a bit got a bit of fight to him.
Okay, so this is the point, because in Hartlepool, when we were doing those Vox Pops yesterday, the people who know about politics are very tuned into their politics. And when you look at the local council, Arthur Scargill has about 10 councillors. His party has about 10 councillors here. So there is that appetite for
absolutely
kind of radical left-wing economic policy, socialist economic policy, and then combine that with the narrative that Boris Johnson likes to spin about voters in this place, which is, as kind of, socially conservative, patriotic. And if you think about those two things in the context of, centrism, it makes Starmer's centrism seem very, very languid, lifeless almost. And I don't know whether it was Rory Stewart who said this. I don't know whether he said it to me when I've interviewed him or he said it to someone else. But he talks about centrism. He talks about it as almost like being a bow, like a bow and arrow, and that the centre should be a tension from the two poles, taking the energy and the ideas of either to create something dynamic in between the two of them. I don't think you can say that about Keir Starmer's Labour Party, at the moment at least anyway.
No. I don't think, it's just not terribly clear what they stand for. When we asked people yesterday what to name a Labour Party policy, they could name the Labour candidate Paul Williams' policies, but they couldn't name a national policy.
Yeah.
And I think most people would struggle to kind of identify what this Labour Party, what Keir Starmer's Labour Party wants for the country.
I think it's a tough one because I feel like oftentimes it's a trick of the right-wing press to kind of pressure the Labour opposition to be like, what do you stand for? What are you like? You got no ideas. And I think there's an element of just being like, you don't have to. We're years away from a general election. You keep the powder dry or whatever. Like, you're just trying to establish yourself first. But yeah, interesting. And a strong contrast to that actually is who we're going to speak to today, Thelma Walker, the not Northern Independence Party candidate because they couldn't get themselves on the ballot in time, but endorsed by the Northern Independence Party, who are this kind of upstart young party, socialist, campaigning for independence in the north. And we're interviewing her today, so it'll be interesting to hear what she has to say.
Still polling it third in the polls, but still polling it.
2%.
Yeah, which is still fairly
interesting.
Impressive. Fairly impressive to be third in the polls. But
I'd be surprised if they got their deposit back though.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of deposits that would be lost.
16 candidates, yeah. A lot of fight. What is it, 5 grand? 2.5? Can't remember. It's a lot of money. It's thousands of pounds, and they're not going to get them back. All right, onwards and upwards, Ed.
Excellent.
Cheers.
You'd be forgiven for thinking the Northern Independence Party was a bit of a joke, given some of their social media output, including photoshops of flat cap wearing whippets stood behind dry stone walls. But beyond the memes, there is a semi-credible political party. Admittedly, one who couldn't get organised in time to appear on the ballot paper of the Hartlepool by-election, but they still have an NIP-endorsed candidate in Thelma Walker. We met the former Labour MP on the Seaton Carew beachfront to discuss her campaign and the upstart political party.
Thelma Walker, independent candidate in the Hartlepool by-election, but endorsed by the Northern Independence Party. Hello, how's it going?
Hi, yeah, great, lovely. Another sunny day in Hartlepool.
Windy day in
Windy,
Hartlepool.
yeah.
We were just chatting then, before we started recording, about democratic socialism and why you've decided to make this decision. Would you mind just elaborating, just restating that, why you've got involved and why you're standing for election again?
Socialism isn't something you just step back from. It's a vacation for me, and those values and those principles and those policies. And I see in the Northern Independence Party, all of those values that I worked so hard for in 2017 when Jeremy Corbyn was leader, and that manifesto we had was just so spot on, and so spot on for now, post-pandemic. And I'm doing it for the younger generation. I'm doing this at my age because my age group, the baby boomers, had it all. Affordable housing, they didn't have student debt, full employment. And a lot of my age group, I do get really cross about it. Yeah. I get cross about it because I think that they've taken that for granted, and they're not thinking that a lot of the younger generation now are being denied all of those things and are saddled with high rents, unaffordable mortgages if they're lucky enough to have a house, and student debt.
And what I think is particularly interesting about this, or important about this in relation to young people, is that in terms of the pandemic, they have sacrificed so much. And we know about this disease, it is incredibly, incredibly serious, but it is more fatal for the elderly. And these young people, they've put their lives on hold to protect the elderly, and they've suffered more in terms of job losses. They're more likely to live in, rented house share accommodation, often without a garden. They've sacrificed a lot, and they've suffered a lot as well. And the sort of the political settlement as we come out of this crisis, it's very important in relation to them, isn't it?
I've felt for the younger generation. Everybody's suffered, and some people have, made the ultimate sacrifice of their lives, especially those in the health service, and that commitment that's been made. But we've always got to be looking to the future and the vision for the future and how much better a world we could have. And, it's a very simple thing that socialism is about fairness, and it's about looking after each other. And I know it all sounds corny, but what do you want for your GDP? What do you want for your profit? You want happiness and well-being.
As I mentioned at the beginning there, you are standing as an independent. You're endorsed by the Northern Independence Party, but you're not their candidate. They couldn't get onto the ballot paper for a by-election. So what makes you think this party is capable of seceding from the UK and forming its own independent nation?
We're a new party, 5-6 months going. And before I became a member of NIP, I've been working with the newly formed small left-wing political parties and their leaders. Alex May, Breakthrough Party based in Manchester, Left Unity have also endorsed me for this election. There's a number of emerging groups, the Peace and Justice Project, with Jeremy Corbyn, Claim the Future with John McDonnell. There's loads of really good stuff happening with policy development, but more importantly, a movement coming together. And that is what is inspiring me at the moment. And that is what I think the establishment are frightened of, because this movement is growing. And those policies that were in the 2017-19 manifesto, and I believe many of the policies in the Northern Independence Party's manifesto, they've been seen and they can't be unseen. And I think that's what's rattling the establishment, that those policies were popular on the doorstep. I was talking to John McDonnell yesterday in the podcast that I do, and he was saying that if you run through focus groups, if you did in 2000, and I was there, I was with the Treasury team, if you ran those policies through that were in our manifesto and didn't tell those voters they were Labour, they said, oh, that's a good policy, oh, that's good. And as soon as you said they were Labour, because of MSM, because of how it was, they went, not sure about that. And that's what we're up against.
I'm very glad, actually, that you mentioned the sort of political movement, if you like, that's happening. But there is a concern, isn't there, in terms of the progressive vote, that it's splintering, it's fracturing, and actually could end up taking votes away from the Labour Party. And, as is the case here in Hartlepool, you're polling 2%, and that 2% could be absolutely crucial in stopping the Conservatives from winning this seat. Aren't you helping the Tories to more MPs in Parliament?
I mean, for me, I'm the only left-wing, I'm the only socialist candidate that's in the running. And the Northern Independence Party are the only democratic socialist party that's in the running. I also don't believe in this idea of splitting the vote. I don't accept that at all. Because as I say, if you want to vote left and you want to vote socialism, then it's NIP. And I'm standing up. I'm not standing against Labour. I'm standing up for socialism, and that's the big difference. I feel quite strongly about that as well. And you've got to look at national polling. This isn't just about the polling in Hartlepool. Look at national polling and see how Labour are bombing, basically. So it's not just about Hartlepool.
Do you think the Labour Party can be said to care about the North? and the voters of Hartlepool?
I think the Labour Party does care, but what I do think they've made the mistake of doing is taking the vote for granted. I think that was what 2019 was about. It wasn't just about Brexit. It was about taking the vote for granted. And we've lost four. Labour have lost 4 elections. They keep going on about the last 2 elections under Jeremy Corbyn. We've lost that vote share has been being eroded for years now. And I think it also began decades ago, really, when candidates were parachuted into the northern seats.
As has happened in Hartlepool.
Yeah, and you know that lack of and I'm saying this, and I'm not pretending to be a local person to Hartlepool at all, but I am northern through and through. And I think that what's happened over the decades is that people who can't connect with the community have been elected for those seats. And I think the erosion of I'd hate that term, the red wall, actually. But the erosion of those Labour northern seats is, first of all, taking the vote for granted, and also having people in there as their MPs that don't connect with the community.
Your candidacy and the supporting political party is being cast as a breath of fresh air for British politics, and I think rightly so. However, you are a former Labour MP. The Labour candidate standing is a former Labour MP, and there's also actually a third former Labour MP standing in this by-election. Surely it's just more of the same for the people of Hartlepool.
No, I don't think anybody who knows me would accuse me of ever being more of the same. I've already talked about the vision for the future for the younger generation. And I do believe that there needs to be a change in politics. And I do believe that Labour have got it wrong. They've misread the national mood and certainly the local mood here. And I think that it is time for a change in politics. It is time to look at regional investment. We had that in the Labour policies, regional investment banks, localism, social enterprise, community wealth building, all those things that really excite me as a possibility for somewhere like Hartlepool, where the local community can come together, support each other and put those policies in place. So no, it's not going to be more of the same. And if I were fortunate enough to be elected to represent Hartlepool, it certainly would not be more of the same.
Given that first past the post electoral system, are you not concerned that the Northern Independence Party is basically a pressure group, isn't it? It serves to drag the Labour Party towards the left and refocus national politics to a degree on the north. But because of the electoral system, you never really stand much of a chance in terms of electoral parliamentary success.
One of the major reasons I decided to finally leave the Labour Party was because I've been there, I've been in Westminster, I've seen how the PLP works, and I actually decided it's not possible to get a socialist government with what we've got without constitutional reform. And so I've seen without open selection, we've got the boundary review coming up soon, so the Tories will take back another 4 seats, certainly another seats that would be on their side. So you've got all of that, and without constitutional reform, I thought staying in, as a number of my friends and former colleagues said, Thelma, don't leave the party, we need you in the party. And they begged me, some of them, don't leave. And I thought, but I can't honestly envisage it working. I can't honestly. So what NIP are doing at the moment is doing what UKIP did for the right, it's doing for the left. And it's saying, let's have those conversations about inequality. Let's talk to people who are in the wilderness and not knowing which way to vote, and bringing that coalition together. This is a long-term project.
I'm actually a little bit irritated that you've made the NIP UKIP comparison there, because I was planning to make that and I thought it was quite original. But still, what do you think the difference is between the NIP and UKIP? And I actually kind of mean that in a favourable way, because despite the UKIP, never having much success in Parliament, a few MPs, defections, etc., they were able to change national politics in enormous ways. Do you think there's a comparison there to be made?
Yeah, I think so. I think any politics, why I'm in politics, is to make a difference, to make a change, to make people, as a socialist, to make everybody's life better. And if we do nothing else, I don't know how we'll do on May the 6th, but if we do nothing else, you're having this interview with me. I've got back-to-back interviews with national media, local media, who are interested in this so-called unimportant pressure group party that have only just formed, who haven't got registered and haven't. So why are national journalists interested? I was with the Financial Times, New Statesman, I've been interviewed. Why are they interested? Something's happening here, and I think it's really exciting. And I think watch this space, because I think this is the beginning of something really big.
Thelma Walker, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yes, there is a by-election going on, but I have it on good authority that fish and chips in Hartlepool is a must for anyone who's visiting. So I've come here, Young's Fish and Chip Shop, to see what the fuss is all about.
Who's next, please?
Yes, I've been told that I need to try a battered chip butty from
Right.
this chip shop. However, I don't know what splash is.
It's just an ordinary chip butty. You can have salt and vinegar on beforehand if you want to, and then you put curry, gravy, peas, beans, and then obviously it's battered and then fried. It was actually a mistake when we put it on TikTok. We didn't realise how popular it was going to be, and then we got people coming and asking for it, so it's just gone absolutely crazy.
There you go.
Thank you very much. I'm very
Thank you
excited
and
about
enjoy.
this. Cheers.
Thank you, bye.
So I've got one battered chip butty. It looks absolutely molten. Look at that. Hartlepool delicacy. Battered chip butty with splash. Let's go. Oh yeah. This takes chip sandwiches to a whole other level. You get the crispiness of the batter. Soft bread, chips are good. The salt and vinegar actually is really adds something to it. I don't think I can ever look at a normal chip butty again. This chippy blows everything I've ever had in London out the water. Like, there's no question about it. I'm halfway through this meal and I already feel like I've had a roast dinner. First of all, that chip butty was absolutely incredible, so thank you for that. But I think I've got room for a bit more. What is a spam fritter?
So your spam fritter is pork luncheon meat.
All right, cool.
People normally have it in a bread bun, or they have it with chips and curry or chips and peas.
And it's fried and battered as well, yeah?
Yeah, fried and battered as well.
Right, I think it's one spam fritter for me then as well.
There you go.
Oh, here we go.
Thank you,
Cheers.
enjoy.
I
Bye.
will, don't worry. All right, here we go. Spam fritter, which I'm told is pork luncheon meat. And of course it comes with more chips and more curry sauce. I was already worried about my weight. I don't know what I'm going to do. It feels hot. I mean, I've already lost half the inside of my mouth, so what do I have to lose? It's not what I was expecting. It's not what I was expecting at all. The texture is almost like salmon. It melts in your mouth. Once you've got the crispiness of the batter, it's a whole new world. It's a brave new world. I can't feel the inside of my mouth. I think half of it's fallen off. My tongue, I can't feel that either. It was so hot, but it was so good. And for the price of less than a piece of fish back home, I don't think you can beat it. Hartlepool fish and chips, every time.